The Pluto model we have been working on so far is a reasonably small model. But in an enterprise application, you might be working on a large complex model. So back here in our DB context, take a look at onModel creating method. Currently, it's not too bad. It's reasonably maintainable. But if you have a large model, this method is going to explode. And you will end up with a lot of configurations. So in this lecture, I'm going to show you a nice, clean way to structure and organize your configurations. What we're going to do is, instead of writing all these individual configurations in this method, we're going to move them into different classes. One configuration class per entity. So in this particular example, all my configurations are against the course class. So I'm going to create a new class called course configuration and move all these configurations there. In a real world scenario, you would probably have configurations for other entities like authors, tags, covers, whatnot. Then again, you move the configuration specific to those classes in separate configuration files. So let's get started. First, we create a new folder here. And call it entity configurations. Now we add a new class here. And the way I name these classes is the name of an entity plus the word configuration. So in case of course, I'm going to call this course configuration. Let's make it public. This class should derive from entity type configuration, which is a generic class, and it takes a generic parameter, which is the type of our entity, course. Note that this class is defined in this namespace here, system.data.entity.model configuration. Because I'm using ReSharper as I was typing the name of the class, ReSharper automatically added the using statement here. If you don't have ReSharper, you need to manually resolve this. Next, we need to create a constructor. So ctor tab. And now I'm going to take all the configuration we have in our DB context and move it here. So I'm going to select everything here. Cut back here and paste it. Now in this class, we don't have model builder and we don't need to call the entity method because all these configurations, like anything around these properties, all these are for the course class. So I'm going to select model builder.entity of course and replace it with nothing. So Control H and here, remove whatever we have here. Alt and A to replace all. Okay, now we have an extra dot at the beginning of these configurations, which we need to remove. So remove this. So we get direct access to the property method inside this class because it derives from entity type configuration. Similarly, I'm going to get rid of this dot here, 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 and we don't need this line because we are not in the DB context. Now the code looks ugly, so let's reformat it. Control A, Control K, Control F. Okay, it's better now. Looks like we have a build error here. We'll get there in a second, so it doesn't matter. Continue, yes. Okay, now let me show you how I organize these specific configurations. I have my own convention. So first I start with table overrides. In this case, we are not overriding the name of the table, but let's just imagine, hypothetically, we need to change the name of the table. So we call toTable imagine this entity is mapped to TBL underline course. So I always put table overrides at the very beginning. Then I override primary keys. So we use the hasKey method. This is just part of Fluent API. And the Lambda expression, c.id. Next, I add property configurations, and I always sort them alphabetically. So we have a couple of property configurations. Description should come first. So I select this and move it up. Line break. After properties, I work on relationships. And again, I sort them alphabetically. So here's one. Author, that's good. We have a couple more. So cover should come before tags. So select, move it up. Get rid of this extra line break. Now take a look. If you follow this approach, all your entity configurations will have the exact same style. And when something is not working, you know exactly where you should find it, instead of scrolling up and down in the middle of a million configurations. All right, so we have a configuration class. Now we need to reference it. So back to the DB context. On model creating, we use model builder dot configurations dot add. And look, this method has two overloads. The first one takes a complex type configuration. The second one takes an entity type configuration. So the class we created earlier derives from entity type configuration. So new course configuration. That's it. So this way your onModel creating method is going to be a lot slimmer, and you will distribute the configurations for different entities into different classes. Now, before we finish this lecture, let me build the project and make sure everything is working. Yep, all is good. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and thank you for watching.